Steering wheel, somebody tell him to give it to me.
These are more of Formula One's funniest moments.
To whom it may concern.
Alright, let's start by picturing this. You're Fernando Alonso, two-time world champion, the king of Spain, the best of the best.
Enormous bravery by Alonso. Incredible. He wins the Italian Grand Prix at Monza.
What a move, Fernando Alonso!
However, you've spent the last decade dragging underperforming cars to places they had no business being. But hey, you still show up, grind, and believe that maybe, just maybe, the FIA will use its brain cells once, at least. And what better place to do it than the Temple of Speed, Tifosi's Fortress, and Monza, a track where Paella Man was about to experience the single dumbest moment of his 2017 season. Quali, a disaster. P19 for him, thanks to a penalty. The McLaren was cooked before the race even started.
Alonso gets away quite slowly, going for a very long first stint and then being faster towards the end.
Fernando wasn't fighting for podiums or wins, he was fighting midfielders and praying his gearbox wouldn't randomly explode.
There is something wrong with the car. It's pulling to the left, something on the suspension maybe.
They're retiring Fernando Alonso. Sadly, the orange car peeled off into the pit lane and he is out of this race.
And yet, despite the absolute shambles that was McLaren Honda, he was still battling, carrying the entire operation. And now entered a driver whose most notable contribution was, well, existing. The man had one simple job: stay on track, don't crash, and don't embarrass Renault too much. Anyway, somehow even that was too much to ask. But here's where things got really stupid. On lap 15, fighting for P12, Palmer cut the chicane, like blatantly cut the chicane to overtake the Spaniard. A move that even Mazepin would have been like, bro, chill. And you'd think, okay, easy fix. Just give the place back, right? Wrong. Palmer kept going like nothing happened. And that's when Nando snapped.
What Palmer is doing? He needs to give me back the position. Cut the chicane.
I swear you could feel the existential crisis mid-scream. And here's the kicker. A few moments later, the stewards finally woke up and handed the Brit a penalty. Alonso's response?
Palmer has a 5-second penalty.
5 seconds, it's a joke. A joke.
Yep, he wasn't happy about it. Iconic. But wait, it gets better. A few laps later, Palmer had to retire due to reliability issues. Alonso obviously wanted to know where his rival was, and when he was told that he had retired, he simply said over the radio,
Where is Palmer?
And Fernando Palmer has retired.
Palmer.
And right when he thought justice had been served, God hit bro with another Uno reverse card. A few laps from the end, Fernando retired.
And Fernando, back off. We need to retire the car.
Okay.
Something El Nano said was a direct result of his tussle with Palmer. At the end of the race, my guy was straight up tilted. He might have implied that the stewards were drinking Heineken while making decisions. Now, I'm not saying they had a keg in race control, but some of those calls felt like they were made after the third round. Moral of the story, when you drink, never steward. Anyway, if that race has taught us anything, it's that race control is allergic to, well, common sense. And speaking of that, Mr. Strulovic still being an F1 after all these years. Yeah, don't make much sense to me either.
This was at the head of it. Oh, that is ridiculous. That is a huge hit into the back.
Oh, Lance, if you'd have known that missing pre-season testing wasn't going to be the biggest L of the year.
Yeah, it's couldn't be worse timing. Everyone's been working really hard and putting everything into this new car, and I just destroyed that going into one of the most exciting seasons.
I mean, sure, getting yeeted off a bicycle and breaking both wrists before the season starts is bad, but it's not as bad as the way he would fix it weeks later on the season opener at Bahrain. See, coming into the race, his wrists weren't still 100%. They were like barely functioning. It's important to note that the doctors told him he needed 6 weeks to recover, and he was like, nah, I'm built different.
It's not healing. It's not healed.
No, it's not healed. With
still broken.
Just race it.
And then somehow, against all medical logic, he actually raced, which is remarkable actually. But here's the point, you'd think after such a traumatic injury, he'd drive a bit more carefully, right? Nope.
On board with Stroll, and he's fighting the Mercedes of Russell, and that's a whack. That's a whack on the right rear of Fernando.
Great. So you're telling me that you put in all the effort for the team to regain trust in you, and the first thing you do is crashing your teammates? pure Strulovich mentality. Thankfully, Alonso got lucky by continuing, executing a great race. And to be fair, Lance was cooking too. He ended up finishing P6, which is actually insane, considering his wrists were probably crying the entire time. Plus, he pulled off a solid number of overtakes, which, for a guy who could barely hold a steering wheel, is kinda crap. But see, this is Stroll. Of course, it wasn't gonna stop there. Fast forward to Spa, and the man who survived bike crashes, broken wrists, and cars moving at 180 miles per hour met his final boss. After an absolute shambles of a sprint quali where Aston Martin looked like they'd collectively forgotten how to drive.
He's tiptoeing round and he's into the wall, and to end the session.
Stroll was just trying to leave the motorhome, and then, bam! Gravity said, not today. However, that, my friends, is the Lance Stroll experience. One moment he's pulling off a clutch victory drive with fractured bones, and the next he's getting packed by a staircase. Elite consistency. Honestly, at this point, Aston Martin probably drops more fixing Stroll's crashes than they do paying the whole crew. They probably wish they could get a discount, and maybe they can with today's sponsor, Coopert. Coupert's a free browser extension that saves you money faster than Lancey Boy can find a wall. Just install it, and every time you're checking out online, Coopert automatically hunts down and applies the best coupon codes for you. No digging, no guesswork, just straight up savings. Coopert works on pretty much every browser: Chrome, Edge, Opera, Firefox, Safari, you name it. So if you like spending less for the exact same product or service, this is your go-to. Coopert does three main things, by the way: automatic coupon testing, cashback rewards, and price comparison services. What does that mean? That you're never overpaying, even when you're impulse buying some new merch. And the best part, you can cash out through PayPal, gift cards, or straight to your bank. So whether you're trying to grab those sick Alonso bed sheets or just buy groceries, save smarter with Coopert. Hit the link in the description to install the extension or grab the app. Crashing might be pricey, but shopping doesn't have to be. Look, not everyone can pull off Stroll's brand of accidental comedy, but what if I told you there's a driver who can chug drinks and still cook when it matters most?
The name's Hunt. James Hunt.
James Hunt was different. And when I say different, I mean a whole other species of driver. The man lived like he was starring in an R-rated version of Drive to Survive, except there were no Netflix cameras, just cigarettes, champagne, and absolute madness. This guy didn't just party, he redefined what partying meant. 5,000 women? Yeah, that's the rumored body count, and it's crazy to talk about that in an era where everybody thinks 1,000 in a day is a record. But forget the numbers for a second. We're talking about a guy who literally had a minibar in his trailer and reportedly brought flight attendants back to his room the night before a race. And then he just showed up, sent it, and won. Like, bro, what? Imagine being a driver today and telling your trainer, hey, I'm skipping the hydration plan and pre-race warm-ups. Instead, I'm getting absolutely plastered tonight. I'm pretty sure your contract would be shredded before you even finish that sentence. But Hunt, that was just a Tuesday. And the best part, he didn't just get away with it, he delivered on track. The 1976 season was straight up movie material. Dude partied his way across the world, went to war with Niki Lauda, and still clutched a championship in Japan. With drama included, I have to say. And then there's the legendary BBC commentary era, because of course, after a career like that, the next logical step was to shove a microphone in his face and let him go wild. Spoiler alert, he did not care about broadcasting rules. First, we got the classic,
Jarier really is completely out of order. I mean, he really shouldn't be allowed to drive in Grand Prix racing. He is, he's got a mental age of 10 in the first place, and that was absolutely disgraceful for a driver.
Then, of course, the iconic,
and these normally aspirated engine cars are a very different kettle of fish to drive, he says.
And all I can say to that is...
So, anyway, there goes Arnoux in the...
I love how much Murray Walker just casually ignored him and kept commentating. Peak British television. Now, obviously, James wasn't perfect. The guy was reckless, unpredictable, and definitely wouldn't survive a single FIA meeting in 2024. But here's the thing, we will never see another driver like him. The man was built for an era where races were dangerous, sponsorships were less corporate, and your race routine involved a stiff drink, not a sports psychologist. And somehow, even with all the insanity, he still left F1 as a world champion. Honestly, that's gotta be one of the biggest flexes in motorsport history. Speaking of which, imagine James trying to survive in 2020. No late night parties, no chain smoking on the grid, and worst of all, quarantine bubbles. I can already hear him saying, that is bullshit. But hey, let's remember that time for a second. You know, streaming's golden era when the F1 drivers were not just athletes, but full-time streamers, meme lords, and absolute clowns. I mean, sure, COVID shut down the actual racing for a while, but did that stop the grid from competing? Of course not. They just took the fight online. And this wasn't just some casual gaming session. Nah, these guys went full tryhard mode, sweating in virtual races, roasting each other in chats, and in Charles Leclerc's case, locking in so hard that he didn't realize his girlfriend came home.
Ah! My girlfriend. My girlfriend is on Twitch telling me to open the apartment. Poor her.
And then you had Lando Norris, arguably MVP of quarantine content. The guy was streaming daily, pulling in thousands of viewers, and somehow at one point thought it would be a good idea to shave his entire head live on stream.
You're gonna be brand new. They're having a factory reset here.
Yep, and that's how he had another alter ego to the list, Boldo Norris. Man really said, if I can't race, I'm gonna do a full aerodynamics test on my own Scout. To make things even better, esports races were absolute chaos. Like, real F1 had strict track limits, serious consequences, and, you know, actual rules. Meanwhile, the video game, they had Luis Fonsi.
Oh, despacito!
Want more examples? I'm pretty sure you remember this situation.
I am stupid. I am stupid.
What made it even funnier? This same moment got unintentionally recreated on The Sim.
Stai bene? Spegni il motore.
And of course, we can't forget about Alex Albon and his best friend.
Oh, George, you are so bad! George!
Bro, 2020 wasn't just an esports era. It was basically a reimagination of a reality show. And honestly, low-key, this was peak entertainment. So the pandemic gave us bits, raids, and drivers becoming YouTubers. But let's bring it back to actual racing, because up next is a moment so petty and iconic, it became a meme overnight. Yeah, to whom it may concern, you already know where this is going. Let's talk about the coldest man on the grid, Valtteri Bottas, a Finn with the energy of a man who just finished his last day at a corporate job. Alright, so you love the Aussie lifestyle? Then stay with me, because we're flying to Albert Park. Flashback to 2019. The lights go out, and Bottas absolutely gone, vanished. Like, no wheel spin, no hesitation, just pure launch control.
It's lights out and away we go. Bottas gets away well. He's alongside Lewis Hamilton and he's making good progress.
And listen, when I say domination, I mean destruction. The guy led 57 of 58 laps, built a 20-second gap over Hamilton, and finished, excuse the pun, like he was playing F1 24 on easy mode.
But when he sees the checkered flag, he knows that he's the #1 in Albert Park today. It's Valtteri Bottas who wins the Australian Grand Prix, and he wins it by a distance.
I guess that's what you get when you focus on fixing ships instead of racing. Now, to be fair, we'd seen him win before. He was always solid, quick on Saturdays, decent on Sundays, but never really main character energy. But this wasn't just a win. This was personal. And then it happened.
To whom it may concern, you.
No one saw that coming. No boring, PR-friendly, thanks to the team speech, just pure, unfiltered energy. And look, let's talk about the context here. This wasn't just Bottas being cocky for no reason. The dude had been Mercedes' second-choice punching bag in 2018. Team orders, ruthless.
James, please abort the fastest lap attempt for the end of the lap. Why not?
So Lewis will have a free stop at the end.
So yeah, I get why he dropped that message. However, the million-dollar question was this going to be the start of Bottas' villain arc? Was this the Rosberg 2.0 timeline? Was Valtteri about to dethrone Lewis? Well, not exactly, because while my guy started 2019 by snapping his rivals out of existence, by the end, he was just trying not to disappear himself. It was like watching a guy realize failure in front of him. And then, Monaco 2021 happened. Lap 30, the Finn pits. Mechanics move in, and crack.
And it's the hard side
right front's not even off yet.
They can't get the right front off. Someone needs to get a big hammer and try and give it a shunt with that, because at the moment that tyre is not budging, and this is Valtteri Bottas' race. being ruined. Valtteri Bottas, he is now out of this race, was running second, still in the pits. That is it. Over for Valtteri Bottas.
The front right wheel nut strips instantly, welding itself to the car like it was never meant to leave. No amount of force, engineering expertise, or desperate prayers to the racing gods could remove it. The car was retired, and the wheel was finally taken off 43 hours later at the Mercedes factory. To put that into perspective, Red Bull could have completed 4,730 of their fastest pit stops in that time. And yeah, 43 hours is longer than my last relationship, but at least I know you love F1 more than she did, so subscribe and stay for more. Sadly, that incident sealed his fate. As a result, he found himself living a double life. Sauber driver by day, Uber driver by night. Not that there was much difference. Somehow this spiraled into a full-blown movement, with millions of fans growing mullets and getting pulled over in his honor. Now, while Bottas was busy outrunning the California Highway Patrol, let's talk about another Finnish legend who actually enjoyed breaking the rules.
Hi everybody, I'm Kimi Räikkönen.
Kimi Räikkönen, the Iceman himself. If you've ever wondered what it looks like when a Formula One driver is held at gunpoint for a sponsorship deal, well, here you go. You ever tried teaching your grandpa how to use emojis? You explain it and, well, he just blinks at you in confusion. That's exactly the kind of energy Kimi had when Ferrari told him, sing for the camera. Like, what were they expecting? This is a guy who once evaporated mid-race weekend to party on a yacht.
The man who was in second place, Kimi Räikkönen, is pulling off the racetrack, and Räikkönen's car too is on fire. So we've lost the second and third place man in this race, and now Räikkönen is out of this Grand Prix when he was looking set for certainly a chance to win it at one point. And a long walk back through the tunnel. That's a good 20 to 25 minutes to the paddock from there.
And there's a forlorn Kimi Räikkönen still trying to find his way back.
Is that the second place man now is Juan Pablo Montoya, but look how many cars are between him and Montoya. There is Kimi Räikkönen. He's not even gone back to the paddock. He's got his shirt off. He's on his boat, which has a splendid name, One More Toy. He's with some of his best mates from Finland who've consumed their own weight in champagne and beer.
Ferrari really thought this was the man to spread the Christmas joy. Bro, they had no chance. So they put him in a Santa hat, handed him some jingle bells and told him, look festive. And Kimi, yeah, he did the bare minimum. He sat there mumbling out words like a kid forced to sing at a school play.
We wish you a Merry Christmas.
Someone please give this guy some vodka. The team had options. They could have done a collab with Button, Ricciardo, Norris, guys who actually enjoyed being on camera. But nope, they doubled down. And just when you thought it couldn't get worse, they tried again. This time it was a Japanese commercial, and somehow it was even worse.
Konnichiwa, Japan. Make sure you come visit Marlboro.jp regularly.
You could win our amazing motorsport prizes and experiences.
Thank you for visiting and enjoy. Arigato.
Sorry.
Bro sounded like he was reading his own ransom note, and the way he just stared at the camera. Nah, they 100% edited out a gun from that shot. But of course, nothing tops gloves and steering wheel. Baku 2017. Now, if you don't remember, this race was absolute chaos. Lap 1, Kimi is side by side with his compatriot, when suddenly, boom, contact. Valtteri, in his infinite wisdom, clatters into number 7, launching Kimi into the barriers and giving him floor damage right off the bat. To nobody's surprise, he was fuming. Then lap 20 happened. And bro, if lap 1 was bad, this one was an absolute war zone. Verstappen's car dies, Perez and Ocon crash like it's an F2 sprint race.
There is the two Force Indias collide there, and there's big damage to Perez's front wing.
Both damaged.
You're right, Esteban Ocon might have a puncture there in his right rear as well.
And then, out of nowhere, a rogue piece of debris slices through Kimi's rear tyre like a katana. Obviously, this led to a safety car.
And is Räikkönen in trouble here as well?
Looks a bit like a puncture the way his steering's handling. Yes, it is. Right rear puncture.
Oh, he's down in 15th already, Kimi Räikkönen.
Safety car.
Now, if you're Kimi, at this point, your day is already finished. Your car is damaged, and now you're driving on 3-wheel. But Ferrari still thought it was a good idea to try and fix the car. So they tell him to box, and in comes the Iceman. Only problem, Ferrari's pit crew was in full clown mode.
Steering wheel, claps and steering wheel here. Give me steering wheel. Hey, hey, steering wheel, somebody tell him to give it to me. Come on, move!
Wouldn't be the first time. The frustration, palpable. The desperation, 100% real. And the Cavallino Rampante, yeah, they left him on red. Man is literally screaming for his steering wheel, and the pit crew is out here moving at snail speed. Like, bro, he just asked for two things. Two things. But hey, at least Kimi's PR disasters weren't self-inflicted. He didn't volunteer to be a meme. But this next driver, oh, he practically sprinted towards the L. Nico Rosberg, a man with an incredible career, legendary battles, and a trauma response so bad he edited his own past.
Let's skip this one, let's go to the next one.
Turn 4, Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. Mercedes locked out the front row, the crowd was pumped, and everything looked set for another 1-2 masterclass. But then, in less time than it takes for Ferrari to fumble a strategy call.
Box now, box.
Did everybody complete the lap of mistakes?
Yes, they did.
Nice, beautiful. Beautiful.
It was all over.
And it's lights out and away we go. It was a super start from Nico Rosberg. Hamilton's got going as well, moves over to try and cut off his teammate.
Rosberg got the better launch, but Hamilton had insane pace and was closing in fast. So, what does Nico do?
And he's crashed into his teammate. The two Mercedes come together as Hamilton tries to pass on the inside, and he can cover his hands over his eyes.
I have no idea. Now, let's be real, this was a turning point. It was the day Verstappen became the youngest F1 winner ever, all thanks to these two deciding to play bumper cars.
The sun is out, the smiles will be out. At 18 years and 227 days old, Max Verstappen wins a Formula One Grand Prix, wins the Spanish Grand Prix, and is the youngest driver ever to win.
But for Rosberg, this wasn't just a crash. It was the start of his psychological warfare against Hamilton. Dude went viral. He trained like a madman, gave up alcohol, social media, happiness, everything. And it worked. He won the title.
We need you to pick up the pace.
Oh my God! Yes! He takes the championship 34 years after his father.
I'm so proud of you. You did amazing.
Then, instant retirement.
Nico Rosberg has announced his retirement days after achieving his first world championship with Mercedes.
Yeah, you know, I've achieved my childhood dream, and I'm here to take the trophy, which is going to be a very, very special moment. And it was very, very tough, because to beat Lewis, I had to throw everything at it, you know, and so it was a really tough time, and I'm not willing to put that sacrifice into it again next year, so it's the best moment to stop.
Man literally rage quit the sport. Now, that's already funny, but here's where it gets next level hilarious. Years later, Rosberg, now YouTuber Nico, hopped on a sim to analyze the Circuit de Barcelona Catalunya. He's breaking down the turns, going full let me teach you about racing mode until turn 4.
This corner, actually, I don't know much about. I'm not very good at this corner. Let's skip this one. Let's go to the next one.
And the best part, his video editor simply just skipped past the entire section like it never happened. My guy literally thought he could erase his history. But honestly, peak auto-bullying. Like, my guy won that championship, he retired as the only man to ever take a title off Hamilton in hybrid-era Mercedes, and still, his brain is out here and hard carrying his own trauma. What a ridiculous legacy. While he was out here battling ghosts, some drivers in F1 were out here battling the laws of physics. So WTF that the only logical reaction is, how did that even work? And you know what's crazy about bets? Most of them involve, you know, winning races. But not this one. This was a bet on who could crash harder. And they actually did it. What Jacques Villeneuve and Ricardo Zonta did was next level brain rot. These two maniacs looked at Eau Rouge, one of the most dangerous corners in F1 history, and thought, yo, what if we just floor it and see who crashes harder? I mean, what could possibly go wrong, right? Now, if you're wondering why anyone would even consider this, well, welcome to the late 90s era, aka the Wild West of motorsports. Teams were loaded with tobacco money, safety regulations were kind of just vibes. And if you crashed a £5 million car, no big deal. Light up a cigarette and build another one. And Villeneuve, he was thriving in this chaos. This man was the original Send-It merchant before we even had a name for it. But to make things even funnier, he actually convinced Zonta to do it too. So race day comes and Villeneuve goes first. He sends it flat out into Eau Rouge. And surprise, surprise, boom. car totaled, like properly destroyed. But the dude climbs out completely unbothered, dusts himself off and basically says, not bad, solid crash, 8 out of 10. Bro reviewed his own accident like it was a YouTube compilation. Then it was Zonta's turn, and oh man, did he deliver. My guy took one look at Villeneuve's wreck and said, nah, I gotta do better, and better he did. Full throttle, Eau Rouge, kaboom. Car goes airborne, spinning like a damn Beyblade, debris flying everywhere. Villeneuve just stands there watching the carnage unfold and goes, damn, he won. But the absolute best part, Villeneuve wasn't even mad. He was actually salty that Zonta's crash was better. Dude for real said,
I think the impact was smaller, but I rolled, so that was a bonus.
He's a little bit disappointed because I think he was outdone by Zonta.
Bro turned Eau Rouge into a Red Bull Flugtag event.
There is the launch, and it's not too bad. Let's see about the distance.
Honestly, this was peak 90s energy. No overregulation, no endless penalty debates. Villeneuve and Zonta had one goal, to prove who had the bigger balls. And somehow, they both won. Because F1 isn't always about trophies. Sometimes, it's about sending it into oblivion and laughing about it afterwards. And speaking of laughing, have you checked out the first part of this video? Come and take a look. And as always, thank you for watching and catch you in the next one.